Hello guys, hello. Hello Facebook, welcome to my page. It is, what is it, Tuesday night? It seems like every time I go live on Facebook, I don't know what night it is, but it's Tuesday night. And I just got off the live on YouTube where I was just chatting with them about some things. And I told them that I was coming over here on Facebook to have a chat with you guys about the trauma, the church trauma. So welcome to, hey Monique, I see you came on over here from YouTube. So I told them that I was coming I see you in the building, to have this conversation, such a serious conversation. I also told YouTube about you guys here on Facebook. Facebook is my life. This is my family, people I went to school with, people that know me. Y'all know, school, neighborhoods. You see me out and about at events and whatever. This is my life. And so I was telling YouTube that. So Facebook, hey Shanika Primus. Facebook, I would love for you guys to go over and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and likewise for the YouTube people to come over to the Facebook. So y'all know I've been talking about the church trauma. This is part 4. The first thing that I want to say is that if you have a friend or a niece or anybody in your life and they say, listen Cheryl, if they say to you like, I can't go to church no more. I just can't have anything to do with it. I got bad emotions about it, and this thing that happened in church, I just can't do it. If somebody ever tells you that, then I want to teach you how to respond to that. The first thing I want you to do is make sure that you don't invalidate them. That means that when they say what they say to you, and they say that they've had an experience, hey Tara, how you doing? And you can obviously see that they are in distress. They might be sad. They might be mad as crap. They might be just completely frustrated. They could be disgusted. They could, just feel all those types of ways. But the first thing that you need to do is to look at them and, first of all, listen to what they say to you, because their experience is real, is how they feel. Don't invalidate a person's feelings. It's important. We've not been taught how important it is to make space for a person and let them speak their truth to you. And if they've dealt with church trauma, then they deserve to be heard. And I want you guys to learn how to validate a person when they feel that way. The worst thing that you could do, before I go into story time, the worst thing that you could do is tell them to get over it. Or to say, well, I've been through that, but I still go to church. Those are the worst things that you can say. Please don't say that. Because then you would further injure them, and it would be more trauma on top of that. What's up, Miss Smith? How you doing, girl? So you certainly don't want to do that. You don't want to add much, more negative emotions to the negative emotions that they already have. Now, I've met other people. I remember when I did not have church trauma. I do remember those days. I remember when everything about church was exciting and beautiful, and it was all love. I remember when when I couldn't see no wrong in the church, the people in the church and everything. I remember really well, because I didn't understand when someone told me, say, listen, Cheryl, I feel some type of way, or I'm going to share a part of a story time with you. Hey, Elizabeth, how you doing? So I remember one of my clients told me, she said, Cheryl, and this happened here in a church in Raleigh, and I wouldn't dare name the pastor, but this is a real story. This is a real person. This is not my story. It's somebody else's story, but I'll get into my story a little bit later. So she said, Cheryl, I went up to the church. I don't go there, but I put my child in daycare there. So when I would go to pick the child up from daycare, sometimes it would be a little late and there would not be many people there, and I would go in and get my child. And she said, from afar, I remember the pastor would just gaze at me. Hey, Daisy, would just gaze at me and watch me and everything. You know what I'm saying? Now, my client, which is a friend, so like a family member, I do want to say that, you know, just for the story's sake, that she was very attractive and had a really nice shape. You know, she was wearing them Levi's, and the Levi's was wearing her. Okay, she was giving what they were supposed to give in them pants. Okay, I'm just saying. And so she told me, she said, girl, she said, I'm so traumatized. And I said, why? And she said, Cheryl, she said, he asked me, hey, Sharon, she said, he asked me if he could see me outside of church. I said, what you mean? She said, he asked me, could he spend time with me, like intimate time with me, and that he would compensate me for it. We're doing fine, Elizabeth. He would compensate me for it. Thanks for asking. Sincerely, thank you for asking. And that he would compensate me for it. And when she told me who he was, I was just like, you know, since we're talking about church trauma, she wasn't like me. Like I was a good solid Christian at the time. See what I'm saying? I knew a lot about church and the Bible and my Holy Spirit and my Jesus, and you know, I had a consecrated lifestyle and all kinds of stuff like that. Like I wouldn't have dared, you know what I'm saying? I would personally, but she wasn't. She wasn't even in the church. So this is my thing about the church trauma, and I'm almost triggered. I'm trying not to be triggered, but I'm almost triggered just telling the story, because this is the thing. Him, hey Sharon girl, him as a pastor, she's not in the church. But maybe one day she wants to be. But sir, she knows that you're supposed to be a preacher. So if you come at her, seduce her, and lay with her, and then if you get caught, you're going to blame it on her because it's going to be the devil in her. Then the church is not going to hold him accountable. And then she walks around with the church trauma. And then people are going to say, well, you had no business laying up with the pastor. But I would say, no, he had no business coming for her, because he knew better. That's what I would say. So she walks around with no faith, no confidence in church, God. Like, what do you do? How do you internally and emotionally, how do you deal with that? Because this is the thing. And I don't know if some of y'all remember, but I do. I remember the days when I knew nothing about church, God, anything like that. I remember those days. So if I'm that type of person, and then the representative, because when you first come into church, everything that you hear and feel and sense is God's representation. And if you are dealing with people who act like anything other than God, then you're going to blame that. And I hate to use the word blame, but you're going to feel some type of way, not about them, well, about them, but especially about God. You can even say to yourself, well, you know, God is not even real because this thing is fake, because this is your experience. So the trauma. Let me breathe, y'all. I literally have to stop and breathe through this. My name is Cheryl, and I have church trauma. Negative emotions around church people, church events, church things. I get triggered. So sure, what does that mean? Oh God. I have really strong emotions. Negative emotions. Thank you, Elizabeth. Around church situations. There was a man named Kevin who was a really close friend to my husband at the time. Kevin was a preacher. He was radical. He used to come over to the church with me and Lacey. He had children and he had a wife. Is that Michelle? Hey Michelle, how you doing? He had children and he had a wife, just like Lacey. He was in ministry, just like Lacey. He was radical, just like me and Lacey. He had a small ministry, just like me and Lacey. And he was out of his mind. Now, back in those days, I didn't know that. I just thought he was just weird, you know what I mean? But I told Lacey, I said, something's wrong with Kevin. He's extreme, like something is wrong. He's really, really like rigid and rough. And then I found out that he had beat his wife and that he frequently beat her. And him and Lacey were really close. So he was really, 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 really strong on submission. You submit to your husband. He's the leader. You do what your husband tells you to do no matter what. You shut your mouth and you submit. So he was really big on that, and so was Lacey. But he took Lacey to another level with the submission. And there I was, already a mother of 4, you know, a businesswoman already. I was already an entrepreneur. So there's a certain level of decision making, and you know, I gotta go to work every day, managing what I gotta manage and all that kind of stuff. And Kevin took offense to me, because see, I was doing too much. I was doing too much. And he told Lacey that he needs to get me under control. And he needs to get me under control, and that I was a Jezebel. That I had the spirit of Jezebel, that I spoke against the prophets because I saw him. So what he did was he found scripture to validate his personal feelings about me. And I'm telling Lacey, says, no, like I'm your partner in ministry. Like I've helped you make your dreams come true. I've been laboring with you from day one. I put my time, my tithe, my talent, my resources into this thing just like you, even more so. And then you meet this man, and then you listen to him tell you that I'm a Jezebel when I'm doing the work along with you. And so I never forget how I felt. I felt so betrayed by my husband, because this man, Kevin, had just wrapped his tentacles around Lacey's mind and convinced him that I was the worst thing to him personally and to his ministry. The negative emotions. So for one, I was sad. I was let down. I was heartbroken. I felt betrayed. That my husband could treat me this way when I had faced all of my fears. I had broken generational curses in my life. I'd done things that I was scared to do to just help him level up in ministry. I'd done all those things. And he said that I was a Jezebel. I was a witch. That I was his enemy. And sure enough, even though I felt all those negative emotions and everything, and I just couldn't believe that I was going through this stuff in church. Because surely anybody would know, anybody could see, close up or afar, that Lacey had one of the best marital partners and wife anybody could have. But he couldn't see it though. And I had to deal with those feelings. I really felt like, it's not just I felt like, I knew that my ability to speak, my ability to sing, my ability to administrate, my ability to just do all those things, to facilitate all these relationships inside this ministry, to be able to help the people, to love them, to nurture them. I got my children, to do all those things. And all of a sudden, my husband was my biggest issue. It was the biggest issue. And I'm laughing now, but I couldn't laugh then. It was completely traumatizing. And then, on top of all of that, back in those days, the thing is this. Where's God in all of this? Where's God? God is not the author of confusion. God is a beautiful spirit. God would love for the husband and wife to work together and to be together. What is going on here? It was a lot. It was a lot. Those traumas, just trauma after trauma in ministry, the members would fall away and leave. And then I would convince Lacey to just take a break. Because he didn't know how to keep good relationships emotionally more than any other way. He was oblivious to how to treat people. It was simple as that. He just didn't know how. He didn't know how to treat me. So I would convince him, take a break, Lacey. Go on a vacation or just take a break. I'll minister to the congregation. And I would do that. And the church would grow. immediately. Things were great, but as soon as he came back and started back preaching again, everybody would leave again. It was hard. It was hard. Because something was wrong. Something was wrong. I didn't know what. The people around me didn't know what. Hey, Shelley. The apostles, the pastors, the preachers, the prophets, and the evangelists didn't know what was wrong. My mother, his sisters didn't know what was wrong. My clients, the neighbors, the barbers, didn't know what was wrong. What is going on here? What is this? Nobody knew. Nobody knew. Over time, things never got any better. So from where I sat, church, ministry, the people, and everything just was a burden. I know, Elizabeth, it is past time. It was just a burden, everything. It was too much. Nobody knew what was wrong. Nobody knew what was wrong. People tried to help. People spoke into our lives. People laid hands and prayed. People fast. People told us what the Bible said. Nothing worked. Something was really, really, really wrong. There was a minister, I can't remember her name. She was very gifted. And in my opinion, she was a very empathic person, very intuitive and very in tune. And she didn't know us well. She was just there through just a one service. And, you know, it don't take much. Like I used to tell Mama all the time, I said, listen, if somebody prepare you an apple pie, it don't take but one good spoonful, okay, to identify exactly, because it might look like a peach pie from the outside, but it take one spoon and then you'll know what it is, but you don't have to eat the whole pie, right? So she was there in the service and she was feeling, looking, observing, praying, experiencing the service. So toward the end of the service, she told him, she said, can I pray for you? And so she put her hands over his stomach area, and she began to pray. And it was a beautiful prayer, a very effective prayer in my opinion, because of the words that she was saying. And now I'm looking back on it, the stomach area is a very, very, very important area, because to me it symbolizes the subconscious mind. The subconscious, not the conscious mind where we think and make decisions and all of that, but the subconscious mind, like the real you, childhood stuff and all that old stuff, subconscious mind. So she lays her hand on his belly area, and she begins to pray. And then there was she didn't just pray. There was a vigor and it was a powerful prayer, very passionate, very, you know what I'm saying, that type prayer she prayed in his belly, took a couple steps backwards, and I was like, oh my God. And she was just like, so now when I think about that particular lady that day, and I don't even remember who she is, but subconscious mind wise, because now I'm 53 My name is Cheryl Grabowski. I went into a program one day and learned about my childhood traumas, learned about the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, learned about the pathways in the brain and how and what the brain does, how it stores information, how it protects you. That's what it's made to do. Certain things happen when you're younger, when you're vulnerable, and those things never go away. And so the brain does certain things to protect you from that. So in my opinion, there was a lot of braining going on. And what that lady picked up subconscious wise was those old programs. And the other people around us didn't realize, and me either. Well, I knew something was wrong, but not what it was. Then in some of my old programs too, not just his, mine, because I had old programming too. So, and we were in ministry with the old programs. And we're not the only people that were like that. I say there are hundreds of thousands, possibly even millions of people who need to go back and find someone who could help them with the CPTSD. Not just the PTSD, post-traumatics, not just that, but the one with the C on the front. That's the childhood one. So that person would be helping you with those subconscious programs, those pathways in your brain associated with being around adults and maybe some other children who did things and said things, and we felt some type of way. And what happens is those subconscious programs are stuck in there. They're stuck in there. And they affect our today. They affect us right now at 35, 45, 55, 65, and 75. What in the world was that? It sounded like something was a squirrel or something. But so those things. So today, I think back on some of my traumas, and obviously he is. But I don't think that he was aware of them. And most people are not. Church trauma is responsible for example, let me tell you. So you can be in church, right? And you can look across over there, and there's a couple over there. And it seems to be a good couple, you know what I'm saying? They might be a minister and a wife, and you know, they have a pretty good life or whatever. Then the next Sunday you go to church and you hear, oh my God, the wife left the husband, she's gone. And then everybody say, oh my God, what has happened? Subconscious programming. That old stuff. The traumas. That's what it is. So we don't realize, hello, Miss Jackie. We don't realize that subconscious programming is working still. You might say, sure, boss, what you mean working still? It's working still. Cheryl, does that mean that God is not with me? That's not what that means. That means that your brain is broke. That means that you got some subconscious program that is taken away from the quality of your life. That's what that means. That means that old stuff is running continuously in you the whole time. So what we do is we deal with it the best way that we can. We eat it away. We sex it away. We church it away. We pray it away, but it ain't away. It's still there the whole time, running. So my church trauma and the way that I feel or felt, some of it I still feel. A lot of it I've dealt with already, but there's still some there as I search the deepest rhythms and regions of my own soul and be true to my own self about these things. Now, there are people who have never, they don't have like church traumas. Okay, and so if you know a person who does not, or if you're one of those people who do not, please do not invalidate those people that do, because it's a real thing. You remember, like back in the day, you know, we thought that people just drink, and then we realized that alcoholism is a disease. Why? Because it's a brain thing. Well, trauma is a brain thing. What does that mean, Cheryl? What is the, that means that there are pathways in the brain, pathways. That means that they can take your brain and look at it and see those traumas. That means that the brain physically has been altered because of different things that has happened to you in your life emotionally. So traumas. So when I say that I have church traumas, that just simply means, it doesn't mean that I'm just hurt. It means that my brain has created pathways, and my brain might be altered in some ways as it relates to church. So then that means that I can have severe emotional responses to church environment, especially the kind that I was in when me and Lacey was together. You know, the abuse. The abuse. The preacher who's out of pocket, who speaks terrible to the minister, or the lay minister, hey Teresa, the lay minister that is mean and cold and malicious and does mean things to people at the church. Those kinds of things. Because, you know, because of the trauma and the pathways in the brain, the triggers. So if a person gets triggered, then I want to respond or react. I want to say something about that. And I want to say it right then. I might not be able to wait. Right. I might not be able to get out of the building. I might not be able to call that person up and confront them later on. It might spill up out of me because I'm having a reaction. There's no difference than having diabetes and your sugar drop. You know what happens then? You get dizzy. You go to sweating because you need some sugar. So the traumas and the triggers can be a lot like that. So it's almost like you can be asking me to be okay like you, because you don't have the traumas, right? You're not having the, what's up, Johnson Love? You're not having the emotional eruption that's happening in your sensory nervous system. That's it. I mean, you can feel that all over your body, all into the nerve endings in your fingers and your toes. I remember when me and this preacher, you know, kind of got into it at the church. I promise y'all. And the eruption, me, happened right in the service. It happened right there in front of everybody. So when a person says that they have trauma, I just want y'all to, I hope I'm explaining it right, and I want you to be sensitive to it and validate people who have it. Now, whether or not I'll be ever able to tolerate, because you got to use the word tolerate, right? The environment, I don't know. Who knows? But the Hammond organ, for instance, I used to love it so much. I love the chords. I love everything about it. But when I hear it now, it makes me nauseous. Just makes me nauseous. Now, some of this can be because I found out too that I have certain sensitivities. Like I'm literally sensitive to feelings, vibes, emotions, period. Just outside of all this, because people are different. So being a sensitive person, then going through those kinds of things, which being a sensitive person is a beautiful thing because of the empathy and the love and, the wonderful vibes that a lot of people love me for. Sensitive, meaning good. Because when it's good, it's good. But then when it's bad, it's bad. I'm talking about real bad. So I want to spread the awareness for us, just everybody, anybody, whether or not you're an usher or you're just a regular person, who knows, preacher, whatever, it doesn't matter. Be careful how you treat people. Because sometimes the damage can be so severe till it's just life lasting, lasts for a lifetime. Sometimes. So, in conclusion, I listened to a sermon that Lacey preached 2 months ago. Monet brought it to me, preached it on YouTube. Girl. He preached it on YouTube. He talked about sin in the body. Because of sin, then you inherit sickness and disease. But if you are righteous and you're the righteousness of God, then sin and sickness and disease doesn't exist. And Monet said she listened to a lot of it, and I watched her as she listened. I sat and listened quiet, and I had my own thoughts that I share with y'all. So I've heard him preach that message so many times I can't even count. That message is not new, it's old. I've heard him preach because I know how he believed. And so Monet said, she said, but Mama, she said, the body is going to get sick because we're human. We have toxins in our plastic. We have toxins in the food from the restaurants. We have toxics in weave, fabric of clothes, lipstick. Toxins are everywhere. And the body is affected by it. Sometimes the body gets sick. It's not because of sin. It's because you're human. So this is what she's sharing with me, and these are some of my thoughts too, and I'm just like, Lacey he just didn't understand. He did. Yeah, he just didn't understand. we just got to be careful, you know. But anyway, y'all, thank y'all for listening tonight. Hope y'all got something out of this live. It was very brief. We just talked about the traumas. And Lacey had many traumas. So did I. Many. But anyway, y'all have a good night. I'll see y'all on the next live. Bye, guys.